Hi, Gabe. Oops, still can't hear you. You're muted.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm so excited for this. I think we have 9 people registered, and I saw 6 of them this morning, and they confirmed they're coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll give them a few minutes to get here. I started with my planning a little bit yesterday or Tuesday, actually, and then I couldn't stop. So I forgot how just absolutely relaxing it is to piece fabric.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It got me through the pandemic because I was just so bored. I mean, you
Mhm.
came upstairs and the hours went by fast.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Hello, Dara. She's busy wrestling that bathrobe. It's coming together really nice. Have you been on any of the chats with the discussion about this robe, Gay?
I saw it on Monday.
You're just
On
making
Monday,
good
I saw
progress.
it. Yeah,
Oh, good. You're gonna get to see it.
we're gonna get a model.
Oh, it's nice.
I finished the red square around the other square.
It's so fancy. Wow.
And
Very
it's so
cool.
warm, but it's kind of like it's only in the 50s here today, so I'll be able to wear it when I finish it.
Wow. Totally amazing. And you get to present this in person, right? You guys are meeting in person?
Yeah, we're doing this in person, so like I don't know how we're doing the vote. I don't know if we're doing like secret vote or if we're like doing it by applause or whatever.
Mhm.
So that part will be interesting because usually we almost always do everything by secret vote. So
Oh, I like that. Secret voting. Cool. Oh my goodness. Welcome, Suzette.
Hello.
Okay, so we're still waiting, I think, Kim and Joanne. Who else was on our call this morning that said they're coming? Here comes Kim.
Yeah.
Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Are you excited?
No.
No.
If we could get her to go, yes. I am. I was talking to Gay about just like how relaxing and peaceful the piecing is. Have you ever quilted before at all, Kim?
No.
You might
No.
like it. You might
Well, I
like
found an easy way to quilt, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, cool. Well, you're gonna definitely have to share your tricks with us. So I know Joanne was on the call this morning, but else am I forgetting?
Suzette,
Suzette's
Suzette
here.
and Casey.
Casey, yeah. Okay. Well, we had a couple new people signed up too. Did you all get a reminder about it?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
just looked it up. Mhm.
Okay, good, good. Because I couldn't tell if it sent or not, but we'll just go ahead and get started. So I highly recommend this book. Both Kim and Gay suggested that we use this. So if you do decide, Suzette, that you want to get, more information about the whole process, this baby is comprehensive. It has everything you could need to know inside of there. Usha, that's who's missing.
Uh-huh.
Do you
And
know?
she
if-
quilts. She quilts. So
Mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah.
busy, very busy with work.
Oh, okay. She's pretty good about watching the replays and then sending me the answers to any questions I ask that don't get answered. Okay, so let's just go around the room for anybody who watches and just kind of give our quilting experience levels so that they have an idea if they're newcomers especially. or for anybody who's like Gay and has a lot of experience too. So we'll start with you, Gay. Just let us know like how long you've been quilting
Well,
and
I started quilting right after my daughter got married, because I told you the story. She had her wedding and I made all the napkins for the wedding, because where we were having the wedding and the caterer said they're using paper napkins. And she said, that's tacky. So I made all the napkins and they were in two cups. One was a print and one was a plain. After the wedding, I said, what am I going to do with these 100 napkins? So I took those napkins and then I bought one more material. So I had 3 materials. That's all I had. And I made a quilt. And the quilt was just a pinwheel, very simple pinwheel quilt. And I had no idea what I was doing. Literally, I just put this thing together. I cut triangles and sewed them together. And I pieced it, and I didn't know anything about really quilting. So I put a backing to it. I put a batting in between, and it was a polyester, which I usually don't use now. And I just tied it with embroidery floss. That was the quilt.
wow.
And that got me started. And from there, I liked it. And I made, I think my second one was a May basket quilt. And I made that for my mom. And then since then, I don't know how many quilts, probably over the last 27 years, I'd say I've been quilting, probably about 400 quilts.
Oh my
400?
God.
400?
Wow.
Can anyone top that?
No,
So as you can see in my room back there, there is a cabinet.
Quilts. Like
Wow.
most people don't even live their whole life and get that much done.
I mean, right now I have a bucket beside me because we're moving spaces. I'm trading spaces in my house, and I have a big box. And this box here, you can see it,
Oh my
That-
goodness.
that's
Beautiful.
almost all just the new quilts this year.
Oh, wow.
What do
And
you
then
do
this-
with all these quilts?
Most of them have been given as baby shower gifts, wedding gifts, the birthday presents, anniversaries. I don't have that many. I mean, I might have maybe 30 quilts in my house right now, but that's about all I have left. They've been all distributed out, most of my quilts. I started taking pictures maybe about 15 years ago. I started taking pictures of them, but the first ones, I can still remember some of the ones that I gave and who they were, what patterns I made. But I mean, it's just a pastime now. I mean, it's just a fun thing to do. It's a stress reliever. I don't get upset if I make a mistake. I have my seam ripper, which everybody calls Jack. That's your friend, Jack. He just helps you out. That's all. And that's it. I mean, just quilts.
Wow. That's such an awesome story, Gay. Really is. Okay, how about you, Dara? You've been quilting a long time too. Are you there, Dara?
I think she's frozen.
She's frozen.
Oh, man. Okay, how about you, Suzette?
I've made like 3 lap quilts.
Just like patchwork piecing? or-
I was doing that when I found you and started making the bags. My first one, I didn't have any fabric. I was just going around the house seeing what I could cut up.
Oh, how fun.
What size is a lap quilt?
Usually they're about 48 inches, baby, by 60.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it's quite 60, but
Close to it because
Probably-
you want to cover it.
yeah. But
But
I
they make
didn't have,
squares. 50
Yeah,
by 50. 50 by 50 might be what they call a lap
That's-
too.
Well, it's smaller than that, but I just did like maybe 6-inch squares.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched videos on how to find it and all that, which was a catastrophe in the beginning.
But you did?
It's about 4 years old and I've washed it a lot and nothing's coming apart, so I'm happy with that.
Well,
Oh,
you were a
that's
step
neat.
ahead of me. There was no internet when I started. It was literally just get a book and just kind of read, and that was all I had. So,
My grandmother used to do them all by hand.
mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
would
mine
watch
too.
her, but that's it.
Nice. Okay. And I'm right at about that level, less the binding. Never, never attempted the binding. I just did right sides facing and turned it around. But nonetheless, we still love every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Binding
enjoyed
binding's
the
easy.
process. Okay, that's my goal for me with this process, is to just learn how to do it. Because it
It's
does
easy.
look so pretty. Yeah, so I want to learn how to do it. Okay, how about you, Kim? What's your experience level with it?
I've never made a quilt. I've only looked at a video yesterday.
This is awesome.
And I'm doing that quilt that I saw yesterday on the video because it was so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yay,
So
Kim. What is it? Tell us.
it's
What's-
something about I had to buy some charm packs.
Uh-huh.
Buy some
Yeah.
trumpets.
So I bought 2 charm packs, and then I've got some more fabric here that I'm going to cut up and
Mm-hmm.
put in the quilt. And the lady, it was super easy. And I was like, okay, good. I don't have to cut out all those little squares. So that's why I'm making it, because I ain't got to cut out all those little squares. Because that's the reason why I've never made a quilt, because I refuse to cut out all those little squares. And I really liked what she did. So her name was Melanie Ham.
Oh, yeah.
So I liked hers. And then she had another one to make a jelly roll
Uh-huh.
quilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, if this one turns out okay, I'm gonna try that jelly roll thing, because it's like, okay, that was kind of cute too. But first I'm gonna figure this thing out, because these little squares are really cute, but it's like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Let's
Hold it
see
up.
'em.
Hold it up.
So it's like it has 5 different designs in them.
Cute.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 2 different ones, and it's like, okay, that'll work. So, and then I've got some more here, some more fabric here that I'm going to integrate in with these designs. So it's like, okay, that'll work. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice. Is there a name for the design or the video or anything, Kim, that you're
no,
doing?
she just says it's a first quilt. It's called First Quilt
By Melanie Ham?
by Melanie Ham. And it's like, okay, she has 5 different videos that she demonstrates how to put a binding on, how to put the backing on. And it's like, okay, that is all great for me, because I have no idea what I'm doing. So,
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
nice.
they're short videos. So it's like, okay, that's great, because I'll lose interest in a minute. So
1 minute. We are lucky to have kept you this long.
yep.
Oh, this is wonderful. I love your fabric choices too, Kim. I really
But
do.
here's another question I do have. She said you have to have a walking foot.
Oh,
I didn't have a walking foot for years and years, and
Okay.
you only need a walking foot when you're actually quilting the top after it's all sandwiched together. When you're piecing, you do not need a walking foot.
Okay, because I'm not getting ready to go buy a walking foot for this first
They're
little quilt. I'm
expensive.
thinking,
They're
I'm like,
expensive.
that's not happening. So
Made hundreds of quilts without a walking foot.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
did too. Me too.
okay, good, good, good. All right. And then Casey, what's your level of experience with quilting?
Well, let's see. I made a 9 patch when I was probably 8 years old out of scraps I scrounged off the floor of my mother's sewing room.
Aw.
Then I made her a quilted, like, it's kind of like, I would call it a pannier. It's where you, an apron that has kind of a front and back with an armhole and you tie it at the side. I again scrounged fabric pieces from all the different things she'd made over the year. And when I was in high school, I wasn't taking a home ec class, but I managed to wiggle my way into the home ec class on my study halls, and I made it for her while I was at school to keep it a secret. So that was her Christmas present. And then I made a quilt for Dave out of his denim and other, fabrics I had from clothing sewing, cottons and things like that. And then I made one for each of the kids, and I made one for my niece. But that was a while ago, and I kind of the last thing I started quilting was that crazy quilt thing I was starting to use out of the Christmas fabric.
Oh yeah. Are you going to finish that?
Well, if we're meeting once a month, we might get a little bit of time. Or else if we have another UFO, I'll be working on it on those days too.
Oh, cool. All right. And then Dara, how about you? What's your level of experience with quilting?
I've been quilting. This is actually the first quilt I ever made, the real first.
Let me make it big.
Made the sandwich and stitched and everything. Before then, I used to make like what would look like a comforter. It would have a tie loft, and then you would tie it. You would like make these little sewing loops and tie it. And that's what I did for my first two kids when they were born, and they fell apart in the wash. You know how like you have to wash that baby stuff often. So 3 years later, third kid, I made an actual quilt for my son. This was black with red and turquoise and purple. And remember this, I picked out this morning to finish my bathrobe. It's the back of this first quilt.
No way.
I
Wow.
out of the closet, I can't believe it is the same fabric. And I didn't do bindings. When I first started making quilts, I would just you leave the back way bigger than the front when you're quilting it anyway. And then I would just, when it was done, I would cut off the front edge and then take my yardstick and go along and cut the back side off the width of the yardstick longer, and then fold it under and fold it under. And that's how I bound all my quilts. I had no idea how to bind a quilt because there was no instruction. There were no quilt shops. There was no, I mean, I maybe could have found a book at the library if I had time to go to the library, but I had 3 little kids in 3 years, so I didn't do any of those things. I do remember I used to watch Sewing with Nancy, so I probably learned some of it from Sewing with Nancy. Anyway, and then I had it at this, just after I finished doing this, I made quilts for a craft mall. I made quilted baby things, mostly blankets and, like bumper pads and stuff for cribs.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing, didn't care, sewed them together. Like they didn't cost a lot of money. Hopefully people didn't expect too much from them. They bought them. And then since then, I've probably made easily 100 quilts. If you work for my husband and you're having a baby, you're getting a baby quilt.
Oh, nice.
Any excuse to make a baby quilt. I have one pattern in particular that I make for baby quilts that's done with strips, and you pick like a gradation of strips, light to dark or pink to green or whatever you match your fabrics. You like just pick them out. You need a lot of fabrics to make it work, but it's usually about 30 strips. And then you sew it all together, make a big rectangle, and then you chop it into sections and you reverse the middle section and you sew it back together. It makes this like really cool. People think it's really hard to do. It's super easy. I can do it in like 2 days. Sometimes my husband doesn't tell me about the baby until it's born. You still get a baby quilt.
Yeah.
So is that made with strips, this quilt, or with squares?
Strips. You can either do it, a lot of people do them with
The jelly rolls. Yeah.
But if you're doing like my crib quilts I usually do like a 45 by 60 maximum for a crib quilt. I'm usually cutting it from yardage. So I cut my strips a little bit skinnier because then you can do way more colors and you get that like progression to go nicely without like chunks between the changing colors if you can't find good ones. But I like to do like fun, easy, like this is probably the last time I really planned like a quilt where I had to cut out little bits. I do a lot of disappearing 9-patch where you make a 9-patch and then you cut them all. After you make the 9-patch, you cut them. Sometimes you cut them on the angle, sometimes you cut them straight up and down, and then you piece them back together with the other 9 patches you made with the other pieces.
Yeah.
And it's called a disappearing 9-patch because you can't even see that a lot of times you can't even see that it was a 9-patch in the beginning. And it's like a super quick way to make a quilt. I've also made like king size jelly roll quilts. There's a lot of people who do this thing they call a jelly roll race, where you just pick random jelly roll strips, like whatever you have leftovers, or you cut your own from yardage, and you just sew 2 together and make it like 10 feet long, and then sew another 2 together, and you just keep doing that till you have a quilt top.
Wow.
You don't care where they start and end. It's like a scrap quilt. So I have that one on my bed right now. Like it's like I'm totally into scrap fast quilts.
Yeah.
And I love the scrappy quilts too, just because that's what I have a ton of is quilting, cotton, scraps.
Ooh.
Oh, beautiful, Gay.
This is an old one. This is one we take to the hockey
it.
games. We take to the fireworks. We put it on the ground and
Wow.
Pretty.
It's stunning. She goes,
But-
this is an old one. We can put it on the ground.
Looks brand new.
I mean, these are the ties that, I mean, you can see the little strings. It was just a tied quilt years ago.
Wow. Oh, good. Golly, that's fun. Okay, so I may have read the book wrong, so I'm gonna ask the question. It's too late for me to go back now because I already cut the little squares that Kim doesn't want to cut. But it said use a 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
but I think that means I would have had to add that twice to the square. I only
Correct.
added it once.
So it'll be a little smaller. That's all.
Okay, okay, so what I want to do, I want to make a twin size quilt
Okay.
so the predominant colors are going to be like a peachy and gold and this kind of very light teal aqua. And so I cut the squares 2 1/4 inch.
Okay.
All right, and then I'm just using the 1/4 inch to piece them. And then I just wanted to, put one together to make sure I'm on the right track so I don't do it all wrong. But so I joined 2 of them, right? So the 2s are coming from this.
Right.
And I joined 2 of them, and then that's what the back is looking like. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. If you've got, okay, you've got your top seam with whatever, but they're just going opposite so that they're laying flat. What they call, that's called nesting.
And this
See
is how I
the
should
one-
do them?
Yeah, one's going up, one's going down, and that creates a nicer butting of the fabric, so you don't, it's pieced properly. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So now for the math, how many of these will I need for a twin?
Okay, measure that square. It should, you
It's-
did 2 1/4. So
It's
you should
4
actually end up-
inches.
4
is it-
inches.
it match- So it's only gonna end up as 3 1/2.
Right.
So you gotta measure how many squares you need for a twin quilt.
3.5 inches will be the finished.
And the
And
And so
twin,
how many
Yeah.
blocks across for the width? How wide
How
it's gotta
wide
be.
would how wide would you all make it? A twin?
A twin,
said 39 by 78 inches, 39 by 78 inches long, I think, is a standard twin. So it depends
No,
how much drop you want.
let me look,
Whatever the store tells me.
And the other thing people go by is how big is, if you're buying the batting rolled up, how big is the batting?
Right.
Because otherwise you'll have to go up a size if you go over.
Oh, yeah.
But it really depends on your bed that you want to put it on. like how much do you want it to hang down? So what I do is I get a big measuring and I just go and I measure on the side of the bed across to the other side, say I want it to hang down 15 inches or 10 inches or
Right.
whatever. And that's how I decide how big I want my quilt.
According to the quilt size chart, a twin mattress is 39 by 75.
75.
So they're
Okay.
suggesting the size for the quilt would be 64 inches by 88 inches. But you don't have to, you can put borders, which are long strips of material, so you don't have to just make squares. So that makes fewer squares, and you can actually build your quilt a little bit bigger.
So because I have that weird 1/2 inch, I might end up having to have a border anyways to
Well,
make it.
you have to make more squares anyway, because you are losing a 1/2 an inch for each block you're losing, because you're 3.5 instead of 4-inch blocks.
Okay, so tell me if this is correct. And let's just say I go with a 64 by 88 for right now, but I'll measure when I get home to the bed.
Okay,
So if the block, after I lose the seam allowance, you're saying it'll be 3.5 inches. So that's the math I use.
So you're
So
gonna-
64 divided by 3.5 is
Well, 10.
18.28.
all right, so you would make 18 squares.
What do I do about the 0.28?
0.28 is it's nothing.
Are you sure?
It's only like, it's a 1/4 of a block.
Yeah.
Okay,
The other
that's
thing-
almost nothing.
The other thing you can do is have your blocks not be even. So you're making this into a 4-patch. You can run a strip at the top that's just 1 patch wide and the length that you need,
Okay.
which would like be, 1/2 a block's width across the top. Like you don't have to be exactly on that 4-patch because you're designing it. So
So the
Yeah.
length is 25 by 0.14. So discard the 0.14. So
Yeah.
25 blocks.
So
25 by
25,
18.
So now do I do the 18 times 25 to know, or is it just 18
Yep,
plus
18
25?
times 25. would
Times?
be-
Time? That's what I was hoping not. to do.
Or do you want it to be a perimeter, or do you want it to be the whole area? That's the difference.
Oh, darn.
But Andrea, you can shorten the number of blocks if you want to put what they call a sashing in between the blocks to separate them, which would make it very pretty. You could
Uh-huh.
put like a 2-inch sashing, so you cut strips 2.5 inches
In
and set
between?
those in between them. Okay,
That's 450 of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
Andrea,
size.
Andrea, does your plan that you have, the pattern you're working from, does it have a border on it already?
Well, I have no plan, so I can do
This
whatever
is
I
the whole
want.
plan.
okay, so she can
I
do
would-
anything.
If it were me, I would do the center just as you've got it and then add a border. I think quilts with
whole
a
edge.
border are very, then it kind of frames the quilt. If you
Right.
just do the quilt right up to the edge and then the binding, it looks unfinished. It looks
Right.
kind of like
So
an
with-
abstract modern painting without the soul, or I don't know, just to me, I like a border. So that's
I
something
would
to think about.
probably do a 2-inch border and
2
then a
inches?
4-inch border. So that would be 12 inches all the way around your quilt.
2-inch and 4-inch, like, so two
Right.
different colors?
Yes,
Kind of
Plus
like
the
matting
binding
on a
color?
picture. You know how on a picture frame you often have a double mat? That's what it would look like.
Okay, so now how do I go about calculating though,
take
If it's
off
a-
12 inches off of each one of them.
off of each side? Now, is that 2 and 4-inch border accounting for the seam allowance?
You'll cut it 2.5 and 4.5 for the
Okay.
seam allowance.
Okay, because I'm gonna use one of those grids and grid it all out, so I
Right, right.
don't do too much, but I knew I was probably doing.
So
the
it'd be
math wrong.
52 by 76. 52 by 76 would be the size of your inside of your quilt.
52 by 76. Boy, you're good with that math, Jay. Okay, so 52 divided by 3.5 is 14.85. So would I make
You do
15?
15, yes.
Okay, and then 76 divided by 3.5 is 21.71.
So
22?
So 22 by 15 or 6, is it 6, did you say 16 or 15?
15 and 22. So 15 times 22, 330.
That's a lot less.
Okay,
That's
I
a
can
lot
do it.
less.
Okay. 330 plus the border colors. Okay. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna wait to choose the border colors until I see
Right.
the whole,
Mhm.
the
Yep.
whole thing together. Okay, now my question to you is, do y'all think you could finish one quilt top before May 7th? If we, I know you can, Gay. You haven't done by Friday.
It's doable. I mean, I noticed you chain piece, which is really easy. Chain piecing makes it really quick. Because you don't need leaders and enders that way.
What's a leader and an ender?
You know how you get that nesting of your threads when sometimes when you start sewing a seam,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So if you start with a leader, you start sewing across on a piece of material, and then at the end you put an end piece on there. So when you get to that end piece, you leave your needle in it. That becomes your leader, and then you put a new ender on each time, so that you don't get that nesting of thread in there. That's called leaders and enders.
And you definitely don't back stitch when you're
No,
quilting, right?
no,
No back stitching. Okay.
no.
All right. All right. So that's going to be my goal. Does anybody else want to take the challenge? Kim, do you think you could be done by May 7th?
Just the top.
That's 5 weeks. That's
Yeah,
a good.
just the top. I will
Oh, I
probably,
could probably be done with the top, yeah. Because
Mhm.
this only calls for like 42 squares, so I'm good. I got 40 squares already.
40 squares. Kim, I gotta do 330.
You're the one who wants to make up a bed. I ain't trying to make up a bed, okay?
It's gonna be so
Um,
lovely.
I'll make one too, but it's not gonna be that big.
Okay, tell us what kind of design or shapes or what you might do, Suzette.
I don't know.
What do you have to work with? Looky there.
Wow, okay.
Wow.
I also have 4 drawers and a chest of drawers over there full of scraps too.
Fun.
So I don't know. Just another lap size probably.
Like, but are you thinking you might do a pattern or just strips or?
I don't know. So I get in these moods where I watch Missouri Star Quilt.
Mhm.
She's easy to listen to. I might find one of her designs that's
Fun.
not too complicated. I
Yeah.
don't want to do a whole lot of math, so it's just going to be a bunch of squares.
Well, you can ask Gay to help you with the math. She was good.
What did you say you're gonna do for your, when you gonna try and get your top done by May what?
7th.
All right, well, I've been working on this for a while.
That's
Oh,
gorgeous. Wow. Hold that up closer for us.
Cool. That's
I
pretty.
probably started these first squares about 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Are those called pineapple squares?
No, this is like a scrap piecing. You put the one square down and then it's sewn to paper.
Oh, fun.
And I got this from a quilting magazine that I used to get that I don't even have anymore, but I have a bunch of them done
Oh, nice.
after years and years and years. And some of them are really weird because I use squares from old quilts and tuck them in. Like, I don't care what's in this. I just have this feeling like I got to get these scraps out of my life.
Yeah.
There's another one with half square triangles in the middle
Oh,
of it.
that's so pretty. But
And then-
tell me about the paper, Dara, because I never get this concept. Like, what happens to the paper?
In the end, you tear the paper off. When you sew through it, it gets perforated and you can just pull it off of the back. but I'm not going to pull it off until I sew the squares together, because these scraps are so little, they're kind of unstable. So
Uh-huh.
you need to get it all sewn together. So once I have it all sewn together, I will pull the paper off of the back of it, and then I will machine quilt it. But I made myself a note because I got tired of it. I have 8 by 8 now. I've made 64 of them. So that's enough to make that's like an oversized, like a couch quilt, not really a lap quilt. Like there'll be 8-inch finished squares. So it'll be about 64 inches when it's done. And when I did all the masks last summer, I just had so many scraps. I was like just dumping them in a trash can. I couldn't even like keep up with the scraps. And then finally I thought, well, why don't I just finish up this silly quilt that has been sitting forever? So I guess I do have a UFO in my life. It's this.
It could be done by May 7th.
I have enough bins full of small scraps. I could probably make 10 of these quilts.
Wow.
You just accumulate so much over the
And
years.
you think that paper piecing is easier than just,
For scrap quilting, this is just one easy way to do things. There's lots of ways to do it. You can use any size scraps, and you kind of go around like a log cabin. You put the square in the middle, and then you just keep going around. But some of these I did differently, and I don't care that they're different. Here, this one you can see because the fabrics are different. It's like a railroad down the middle. You just do skinny strips like down the middle, and then you finish the edges by doing a long strip on either end, and then just go out till you're finished. And it's all jaggedy when you first finish it, and then you put down your straight edge and you cut off all the leftover.
Okay. And that paper kept that from unraveling around the edges all these years?
Yep, these have been sewn to the paper. Some of these are for years. If I could tear this off, I think this is a kid's lunch order from like 1997. And when you used to, in the old days, when you used to have to say I'm buying lunch before everybody had everything online.
Oh man.
But then once I tear the paper off, then I won't tear the paper off till I have the whole top pieced, and then I'll piece it together. Then I'll sandwich it and quilt it.
Wow. Okay, welcome, Cheryl. We're gonna let you get into the conversation here. Tell us how much experience you have quilting.
I've been quilting for many years. I do mostly crazy quilting because I used to get frustrated doing traditional because nothing ever came out straight. But if I slowed down and really concentrated, I can do it. But I just love crazy quilting, and I've been doing that for years, and it was a type of quilting I wanted to learn before I learned any other quilting. So I don't know how many years, many. I don't know, a lot.
How many crazy quilts do you think you've put together?
Well, most of the crazy things that I do, I've done a couple of small crazy quilts, but most of them I've done for flaps on purses, covered boxes, on jackets as something on the back. No major giant. I'm in the middle of making a king size one for my bed, just a black and white summer weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far are you on that project?
I have almost all the blocks done.
Nice. Do you want to finish it?
Yes, I do.
This might be a good chance for you. We're seeing if anybody's willing to take the challenge of finishing one top before May 7th. So you would already have a good start.
Okay.
So if you could get it done by May 7th, then we could
Sure.
show off what we
Yeah,
made.
we'll see if I do.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm working on some other UFOs.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started 2 pillows for my daughters before Christmas, and then I got sick. So I want to finish them up this week. They're Christmas pillows, but I'm going to give them to them for Easter.
Oh, that's cute. You do have to finish this week.
Yeah, yeah. They're cute. I'll show you one.
Well, the upside to that is that they'll have them well in advance of Christmas so they can put them out. When you give somebody a Christmas pillow on Christmas, it's a real short viewing season.
Yes.
True.
They're basically the same. This one
Oh,
for my
wow.
daughter Michelle, because she had to put her cat Bitsy, who is kind of looks like this, to sleep.
Hmm.
So that's what gave me the idea to make it.
Did you embroider that on the machine?
Yeah, it's machine embroidery.
Cute.
And I'm gonna do she likes peppermints,
That's
so I'm gonna border it with peppermint. And Dina's is our Zoe cat,
Oh,
cuteness.
and border it with
How
this
big will
red.
they be?
They're gonna be 14 by 16. And then the Christmas cats will be the
Oh.
back.
Those are fun.
Yeah,
Is that a Laurel Birch print?
yes, it is. Yeah. She made good designs. I have one with monkeys that she made. I love it. And it has all different colors of polka dots on it. It's so cute. So that's a little bit of a quilt, but yeah.
Ready, Carol. Okay, well, hopefully you can finish your king size quilt. Now, Casey, do you think you want to finish the Christmas quilt then, or do you have something else in mind?
Well, the upside of working on the Christmas quilt is when I run out of scraps, it's done. So,
Oh, it's a scrappy.
yeah. So
Oh,
I will
nice.
just keep adding to it until it gets to the size I want to do something with it. And
Does it have any certain design, Casey?
not really. I took either a triangle or an odd shape quadrangle and just, kind of did the log cabin thing until I couldn't do it anymore. And then I
Oh.
just stopped and I would do another one. And I kind of added them together. Sometimes I did like what Dara did. I would just cut it in half and stick two together in another place. So it's really very crazy.
Oh, that's great.
That's fun. Is it nearby or is it far away?
If it's nearby, it's in this cupboard right behind me. I will take a quick look.
Okay, cool. And then Gay, I know you quilt every single day, but do you have a special project in mind that you might do? And then,
When I told you when I went to the quilt shop last week, it took me over an hour. I was in there.
yeah.
And one of the women said to me, your son's a first responder, right? And I said, yes. So she handed me a bag and it had 6 fabrics, all first responder fabrics and a
Wow.
panel. So I decided, so I will do one of them. I've decided I'm
cool.
making 4. I'm ordering more panels. I can show you what the panel looks like. 4 panels. I'll order 3 more of this panel.
Oh,
I
wow,
love that.
that's nice.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
Gosh, that's gorgeous.
Mm.
Wow.
You know,
panel-
Gay, are you familiar with the quilter with the last name of Hughes? I can't think of her first name. We just had sewing guild meeting with her. And
No.
she does magic on panels. She embellishes them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So anyway, the panel, I will make one for each of my son's the lieutenant in the house.
Ah,
And so I will make a quilt for each of the 3 people that work with him. So all 4 will have one for their bed at the firehouse.
oh,
Wow.
So
great.
So
these are their fabrics.
Mm.
do you
I like
get to
that.
decide the design then that goes
All I
around
had
it?
to do was promise to make a quilt for a first responder, and she gave me all this material, all of it.
Wow.
Wow.
So I will send them, I will bring them a picture of them receiving their their quilts.
This
So who was
fabric's
this
awesome.
that you got it from?
But my local quilt shop,
Oh, nice.
the quilt shop that's in the church in Charlton.
Oh,
I added it to
Ooh,
the
yeah.
map. So it's on,
Like
it's on
that.
our,
Thank you.
so we
Kate.
took a detour map.
Right. So
Right.
anyway, she is a very lovely lady. And then of course
Mm.
I walked out and I have a quilt of valor. Somebody has already quilted and I'm going to, has already pieced it and I'm going to quilt it on the long arm and return it. And somebody else is going to put the binding on it and they will be given out on Veterans Day in the
That's
fall.
wonderful. Great.
So,
Really nice. Oh, this would be
Mhm.
fun for us to see that quilt come together.
Yeah.
Okay, you got yours, Casey? Oh, that is fun. It looks
Yeah.
like Dora's bathrobe and we lost, there she is. Hold it up again so she can see. This is your bathrobe exactly.
Does.
They match perfectly. You could have her for breakfast, Casey.
I can make it a placemat and send it to you so you'll have a matching outfit.
well, if you make it into the quilt, then she puts the bathrobe on and wraps up in the quilt, you won't tell which is which.
That fabric, isn't that special to you though, Casey? Was that part of the mom's?
So there is some pieces in here that are from the tablecloth that my mom would have every Christmas Eve on the table. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I won't be giving it away.
Yeah, you should
Uh-huh.
start with that. That's good
That's
stuff.
special.
Good stuff. Okay, so do you have any questions, Suzette, for anybody in the group about yours? Or you're good? You got background? How about you, Kim? You got it? You're muted.
I got a video. I'm good.
You got a video. You're good. And I have my numbers.
So you're gonna put it out on graph paper? Is that what you're gonna do, Andrea?
I'm gonna use, hopefully this idea works. I'll show you what I'm gonna use. I have, hopefully it comes up here. I was gonna do this like on the iPad.
Yeah.
That work? Can you
I
see?
see the
I've
graph.
never used the
the
iPad.
graph.
I always just use graph paper and draw them
Yeah.
in.
So this is like graph paper. It's just digital and then I
Yeah.
can change the colors and
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's fun.
yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Is it an app? Is it an app?
Well, it is an app, but I paid to have it. It's like a drawing app. It's by Moleskin, you know, the journal company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Flow. I don't know why
Oh.
they named it Flow, maybe for the ink.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, flow is a concept. When you get into the flow, you do very creative
Oh.
work.
Mm.
That's it. Okay, so
Okay.
that's what I was gonna use to draw mine, so I can have all the colors and then the ability to change it if I need to
Yeah.
without
See
having
how
to
you like it.
start over, yeah. And
Are
then-
you just gonna stick with your color theme? Do you have enough of that fabric to?
Yeah, that's what I was
Now that you
thinking.
know how many
I
squares?
have, hold
Oh, you
on, hold on 1 second. Let me show you what I have 7 of.
Remember, everybody was so impressed how she had so little fabric in her stash. This is the other side of that story.
Oh, my goodness.
Who sent you that?
That's from 10 years of custom orders.
Wow. That's
So
great.
I never could throw it out because I mean, this is perfectly good, gorgeous
Yeah.
fabric.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's
Yeah, and a
wonderful.
lot of it's been discontinued and it's all like top quality quilting
Mhm.
fabric.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, I never could part with it, but I never had the time to make 330 little squares. until-
I used my scraps and made a pioneer braid, and that comes out really pretty. And sent it. I forget who was collecting them, but for people who were in that bad hurricane in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when they had the flooding, I forget what year and everything, but
Was that
Sandy?
Sandy?
yes, yeah. and I made a queen size, and the woman who owns Bits and Pieces in Pelham, New
Uh-huh.
Hampshire,
I go there.
donated the batting for the queen size.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I finished it all up and sent it down there.
Well, this is a scrap quilt. That one was scrap,
Oh, that's
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
Gosh, that's pretty.
and that was just all my greens. And then I did another scrap one that was basically just reds.
Mm,
That one. This one is just reds.
Fun.
So,
Hmm.
and I still have boxes of fabrics,
oh, yeah.
just pieces, you know, as long as it's 2.5 inches, I save it.
That's what happens to me, Gay.
The scrap hoarders.
It's so bad.
I
You know,
decided I can't go any smaller than 2.5. I can't.
I've
And-
told some of you this before, but when the quarantine first hit, I had all that fabric here at the studio, but I didn't know like if I was ever coming back or like what was going to happen, right? In
Yeah.
the very, very beginning, right? And so I put it in my car trunk.
Drove around.
Hitting it for so long. So every time I went to the grocery store, the girls would go, "Mom, will you take the fabric out of the trunk?"
Oh my God.
Well, if you broke down, you'd have something warm wrap all around you,
Yeah, you at least gotta wait.
or you could climb into the bag, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's what I choose to save, the fabric.
It's valuable.
Well,
It
yeah,
is.
once it's discontinued, it really is because like
Mhm.
the Amy Butler bits, she's done. Like you can't even find it anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always
and, my,
Go ahead.
the quilt I made, the Pioneer braid, I actually ran out of strips fabric. I had to go out and buy new fabric for it, just for the very end of it. But
Well,
yeah,
have you?
I thought
I
I'd never run out, but I did.
You thought you'd never run out. That's what I think. I'll never
I
run
belong
out.
to a couple of quilting groups online, and they will post a picture of a piece of fabric, and they're close to finishing the quilt, and they've run out, and they're asking.
Yeah.
And people are always sending fabrics to
Yeah.
people because they're running out, and because it's out of print now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this fabric, it was on the back of my very first quilt. I mean, like, I've had it in this drawer. My son turns 30 in December, so I made it 30 years ago almost.
Oh,
Yep.
And now
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really good. It's been in a drawer, not this
Yeah.
drawer, but it's always been in a drawer.
Right.
I made my younger daughter, a Holly Hobby quilt, and that is 44 years old.
Uh-huh.
oh, they last so long.
Yeah.
And I never forget if I've worked with a fabric. Like it's locked in my
Yeah. Yeah.
head.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes at sewing guild meetings, somebody will bring in something that they quilted and everybody will go, I have a piece of that.
Yeah. And
Oh,
some
in my house.
like similar, the newer designers, and I'll be like, oh no, so-and-so did that. Look, back in.
Well, somebody had asked, they asked me, what designer did you use for your materials? And I said, it came out of my scrap bucket. I don't even know this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't pay any, from the minute it goes into my stash, that goes right out of my head. I have
Yep.
no idea. Unless
I mean-
it's the ladies with the cats and the dogs. Hers are recognizable, but
Right.
yeah.
Laura Birch, yeah.
yeah.
And who's the other new one? She does lots of black and white. What's her name?
I don't know her.
Oh,
There's,
Bits and Pieces carries all of her line. I can't remember her name, but I
there's
mean,
the one, there's the one
it's
that has
ge-
all the ladies in their sassy.
it's a
outfits
lot
and
of
stuff.
black and white drawings with hints of color. Animals
Tula
have
pink.
Tula Pink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And when I
Yeah.
think of her, I think of like, this is Tula Pink. When I think of Tula, I think of,
Oh,
Right, but she's changed
yeah.
now to a
is
new.
she?
Yeah,
I have
Yeah.
some of hers that have, it's black and white mostly, but there's something pink
Yes.
down here
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah.
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 That's her new line.
That's her new line, Tulip, her
Is
new
it?
Tulip Pink's new line is a lot of black and white geometric with animals, and I think there's lots of animals, different animals.
Mhm.
Chula-lura-lura.
She's singing.
So, yep.
So fun. Okay, so what if we wrap up with like your best tip for those of you that have been quilting a long time, tip or trick?
Measure twice, cut once.
That's the best.
Or just get on this call and ask Gay if your numbers are right.
And if you're actually doing a pattern thing, making the diagram and then using like little mailing labels, parts of mailing labels to number things on the back, or use colored dots so you can keep track of, like all the ones that are supposed to go together can all get one colored dot, because otherwise you start getting confused with smaller pieces. So some method of keeping track of where
Yeah.
things go. If you're doing a crazy
Ziploc
quilt, it
baggies
doesn't
work.
matter.
Ziploc baggies work really, really well.
Then
You
write on
put-
your bag what it is.
Mhm.
One thing I do is I wind up counting and counting and counting. It took me a long time to realize, make stacks of 10. So if you have to
Right.
have like 50 of something, make a stack of 10, turn it another stack
Yeah.
of 10.
Yep.
You won't drive yourself nuts
Mm.
or thinking, I didn't make enough of these. Sometimes you'll wind up making 20 too many before you realize your mistake. So
And Andrea's making 4-patch squares. So after you've got your 4 patches made, you should square them.
What do you mean square them?
Square them up. You use a ruler. I'll show you.
And learn to chain stitch.
yeah,
Yeah,
she did. She learned.
bravo. No, I didn't mean her in particular, just a tip. Just a tip.
This is a squaring ruler. This is just
Mm.
a 6-inch. No,
Mhm.
yes, it's a 6-inch square ruler. So what you would do is you would put your fabric on from here to here. Okay, your 1/4-inch seam is up here and over here. So what you would do, anything that's over it, you would trim it off. It will be the little slivers but those little slivers,
Mm.
after you've sewn lots of squares together, will start making your quilt go a little wonky. So if you
Yeah,
have
that's-
all your squares squared up, that's a pain in the neck too. I usually do that watching TV. I'll bring my cutting mat and my rotary cutter and I will square while I'm watching TV.
Yeah,
But
nobody
yeah.
told me to do that. That's why I ended up crazy quilting almost everything.
Right, but that's the other really, if you can get your 4 squares sewn together, squared up, when it comes time to piece it all together, it's going to
Mhm.
piece beautifully for you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I would have just assumed it was okay. Yeah.
No.
And you don't have to have a particular squaring ruler. I use my easy rule to
Right,
so
any ruler will work, but
Hmm.
I happen to have this one and
Yeah.
it's easy.
And
Well,
I do have a couple of those square
Yeah,
ones. So
Save
that-
time. If I'm making small blocks like that, you don't notice your mistakes so much until you start to put like 3 or 4 of your blocks together, and then you'll see it's too long in one place, too short in another place.
Yeah.
So if I'm making a 4-patch like that, then I'll take 4 of those and make a 4-patch, and then I'll square it. I won't do every single little one. I'll put them into blocks together and then do it, just
And
because I'm
square.
lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
square
Is-
big sections.
A 4 patch, so a 16 patch, the most that you would recommend trying to square before?
Yes,
it's about
otherwise
later?
it gets too
For
big.
for that size. I don't like to get bigger than about 10 inches by 10 inches
Yeah.
because then it just gets hard to square it up.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Exciting. All right, who else has a tip?
We're just talking about the top right now. So The one thing I do is, you know how you have all your random scraps? It
Yeah.
never fails that then when you make it into bigger sections, for some reason, I always have two matching colors that butt up against each other, and there's no way to avoid
Yes.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I like to take about, like 4x4 section of them and lay those out and make sure I don't have any matches.
Mm.
Right. Another good trick is
Then
if
make
you
another
take a
section.
picture with your phone in
You can
black
see
and
it.
white,
Yeah.
if things stand out right away, you can say that, well, I got too much of dark concentration here and all light concentration, and you can kind of mix them up.
Yeah, it's amazing to me when I look at a photo, what I see versus just actually looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
In black and white, it really shows.
Mm-hmm.
What about like the design walls that so many quilters
I
have?
have one. Yeah, mine's up there. You see that?
I use a big piece of flannel and tack it to the wall. The fabric sticks to it.
So your pieces, Gay, are not tacked. They're
No,
just,
they just pop right on and off.
and what is it that yours are attached to? Did you order it or did you
It's
make
just
it?
batting.
Really?
It's on a piece of foam board,
Okay.
and I glued batting,
Oh,
and we just screwed it to the wall. But my pieces, literally, they just lift right off and stick right
Yep.
back on.
that's great.
Do you have one of those, Dara?
If you have an old flannel back vinyl tablecloth,
Yeah,
you just put it on the wall, like tape it up with painter's tape
that's
or
all
something.
I do.
You don't care about
Right.
your wall, and it'll stick to that.
Good. Okay. Are you
I
gonna
have
get
a
one of
permanent
those,
one because
Kim?
I do so much.
Yeah,
I do-
right.
in a king size quilt, the flannel tablecloth isn't going to fit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, true.
I don't have any walls big enough because my sewing room is full of junk. Like every
Yeah.
wall has like stuff on it already. So
Well, that's
have-
why
I use my big cutting table and I just lay it out there and I do a king size quilt in like thirds.
well, when you get to see my new sewing room, I have
Will we
I
cry?
don't have more walls, but I have some bigger walls. And my machine is going on, it's not going to be on a wall. I have pocket doors, so it's gonna go in front of pocket doors instead. So I had to save a wall for my design wall
Mhm. So you use it all the time then?
all the time.
Do you
Mhm.
want one of those, Suzette? A design wall?
Not at this point.
Look, I haven't even cut out the squares and I want the quilting machine, the design wall.
Yeah, everything.
I should
One of my
probably first get all the squares cut.
That's on like sliding closet doors. She has like burlap or something mounted to her slider doors and then
Yeah.
just always there in her sewing room. Like
I was thinking of that for my pocket doors, but it's really, they're paneled, so I couldn't do it. I'd have to put something and then it wouldn't fit inside the pockets that they slide into.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had
Yeah.
already thought of that, but it won't work.
stuck in the wall.
So burlap works too?
I think anything that has fibers to it that
Yeah.
will hold, yeah. Loose fibers, wool, flannel, batting, all those things work.
Yeah, when I finished with mine, I folded up and put it away. And then like about 3 months later, I look in my cupboard looking for something and I say, where'd this big piece of flannel come from? I could make something with this. And then I remember, luckily, it's my you know,
Before you cut it up.
design wall. Yeah.
Darn, I just cut up my wall.
Another little tip, don't throw your little pieces of batting away. You know what's great for?
What?
Dusting.
Really?
Dusting.
You just take one little piece?
Well, a piece, and
Yeah.
it grabs, it's better than a Swiffer.
You
Wow.
can
Because
put it
I
on
have
your,
bags of
Your
batting.
floor
so-
swiffer.
That was that's worth the price of admission today.
Yeah. Could you sew a little floor swifter?
You
out
could
of
make
all those?
Swiffers and they're washable.
I use old flannel pieces too.
Mhm.
Nice. That's really good. Okay.
I
what
moved to
else you
New England,
got?
so I had to get thrifty like a Yankee. So thrifty is a nice word.
Yep, yep. Batting is great. I use cotton batting and it works beautifully. Picks
That
up all
is
the
good to
little
know,
threads,
'cause
even your sewing room on your floor.
The
Picks up all those
threads
little
too?
threads.
Wow.
Well, I showed everybody, Gabe, what I won. I think I showed this group. I won something at our quilt guild one day.
I
And
don't think you did
It's
show
a
us.
device. I'll show you.
It's a device. I'm gonna go sew myself a mop.
I have a carpeted room that I sew in, so those little threads get stuck.
Mhm.
So they told me that I won the device that cleans up thread on the carpet.
The toilet brush.
Toilet brush.
Does it work?
It works beautifully.
Really?
Yeah, it really does. I sit at my sewing machine and I'm done and I'm like cleaning all around the floor around me. Take
I
it off,
would have
throw it away.
never guessed. Wow.
I came home, I said, Richard, look, I won something today. He told me to clean the toilet.
How silly are they? You must have been complaining about them threads.
It was something that she accidentally discovered, the president of the guild, and said, this will be fun to do.
Wait, I have some questions. How you accidentally figure out that your toilet brush picks up thread?
No, I didn't ask.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I was watching a video the other day of some lady who goes into the dollar store and finds all sorts of sewing notions there. things to do.
Yes.
So that would be a good one to add to her.
I've
list of
seen
sewing
her.
notions.
Yeah,
What's one
she's
of
good.
what's one of her best tips?
I wrote some of them down.
Well, I
And
mean,
does anybody
One
know
of
what
them
name?
is a steering wheel cover. You know, those covers
Uh-huh.
you put it in your hoop, your embroidery hoop.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah, and it makes everything stick better. And another thing
Oh,
you can use
nice.
are these, okay, I'll call her back. You know, this Band-Aid.
Bandages? Uh-huh.
Yeah, it sticks to itself.
Right.
Mhm.
That's good in your hoop to keep everything nice and tight.
Very fun.
and one of the things was using painter's tape and putting that on the underside. Just put a couple pieces on the underside of your ruler, and it keeps
Yeah.
it from sliding around.
I have another one. Do you know
Yep.
those? What about your foot pedal on your sewing machine? Know how it
Mhm.
slides all around the floor?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you know what I
that.
found?
What?
See these things? They're sticky.
Yeah.
They hold your cell phones and stuff. They're
No,
really
I
sticky
didn't know that.
and they're cheap. And they're called, it says Extreme on them, but
Mhm.
I put 3 together. So it really, really is high enough that my foot pedal doesn't slide on my floor ever anymore. It
Mhm.
makes the foot pedal stay. You wash them off when they get really gunky
Mhm.
and they get real sticky again.
You found those at like a dollar store?
Yes.
Oh.
The other thing you can use for the foot pedal are those shelf liners that
They
are
didn't work well for me. They
Yeah.
still
No.
slid around. This doesn't move. It
not at all,
stays.
huh?
It stays.
I'll try
Good
that.
idea. Yeah, but you need multiples.
Well, they're cheap. So, I mean, and they're washable. They don't wear out.
Wow.
So,
And
Fun. Do
then
you
the
have
other thing,
carpet? Who has carpet in their sewing area?
me,
Suzette, do you have carpet?
I have a rug underneath.
No, I have carpet.
I have hardwood. So my pedal was always not where I
Mine
wanted it.
too.
mine
yeah.
slides on
Mine's-
carpet.
mine slides on carpet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another
So-
thing that she had were the flexible chopping mats. to
Mhm.
use as templates for your quilting, or
Mm-hmm.
You cut them?
print it out.
Yes, you can make
and-
templates.
Yeah, instead of going to Joann's and buying that see-through stuff that's thinner
Mm-hmm.
and more expensive, this is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know her name? This brilliant dollar shopper and repurposer?
Put in dollar store savers.
Dollar store savers.
The
That's
one I saw, she was showing how you could make yourself a large cutting mat.
How do you
By
do that?
That.
You were putting, like, you could buy the little small cutting mats and putting them all together. And you were putting the white painter's tape, I guess, on the back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could just use them and you wouldn't have to buy a big cutting mat because you were putting them all together.
Mm-hmm.
I want one of those giant ones.
They're huge, aren't they?
Yeah.
And she was showing how you could use it. I mean, I haven't been to the dollar store, so I don't know. I haven't
That
seen.
same lady?
Yeah, it was the same
Oh,
lady.
good. Okay.
That one kind of sounds like it might fold up too, which could be nice
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
because they're big, big ones. They are kind of heavy.
Mhm.
I have a 24 by 36, but my new cutting table that I got that I haven't put together yet, that's going downstairs, needs a bigger one.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking I would have to get another one and just extend it.
Yeah. The big
Another
mats are
thing
so
that
nice.
you should know not to do is when you're cutting your cotton, you probably already know it where you sew, but when you're cutting your cotton out, don't use the selvages, because what happens is when you wash them, they wrinkle all up and shrink. So
Oh,
you don't want to include the selvage
right, right,
on your pieces.
right. Those get cut off.
And then Gay, do you pre-wash your material?
Never, never, never. But when I do, I have learned
do.
to wash my quilts before I give them
Okay.
because some fabrics will bleed. But I
Mm.
wash them with
Color
um,
catchers.
color catchers.
Yeah.
Yes. And you can buy them in any supermarket, you can buy them at Target, you can buy them anywhere. And I put like 3 or 4. If I've got reds and navies, those seem to be the two that really,
Yeah.
or blacks bleed too.
Oh, they do.
You just put those right in the wash with the quilt, and
Mhm.
your color catches they come out red or purple, depends
Yeah.
on what color you've got that's bled. But your quilt, your pristine whites are still pristine when you take them out. It is amazing.
That
Color
is
catches.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what happens to them when they wash it the second time?
Well, you wash it again. You wash it again to make sure that it has stopped its bleed. But
So
you
it
can-
only
if-
will bleed like twice?
It shouldn't bleed. Once you do it, they shouldn't bleed again. Very, very rare, very rare. But I have my grandson, one of his quilts, I had made him. It was an airplane quilt and it had lots of reds and navies in it. Well, he came to me in tears.
Aw.
Mm,
He's 17. He's in tears. I had made this when he was like 7. And I
Yeah.
said, Tommy, I'll try to fix it. So he stayed at the house that night and we worked on it. I filled my bathtub first with hot water and I took Blue Dawn
okay.
and I rubbed Blue Dawn on all the seams because that's where it had really
Yeah.
stuck to.
Mm.
And after I rinsed it out, I said, okay, now I took the color catchers. We took in the laundry basket downstairs to the washing machine and we put it in with like 4 color catches. They were purple. The red and black
Wow.
made purple.
Wow.
I said, we're not done. Again, I did a little bit more Blue Dawn. I put it in with more color catches. Now that it was dry. It had bled and dried. Now I've got this wet, bleeding quilt again. And it was perfect when I got it out. It was all gone.
Wow. That
I
Dawn is amazing. You can use it for almost anything.
Blue
Yeah.
Dawn. Has to be
Yeah.
Blue Dawn.
What does that do? What does the Dawn do?
it takes it out. It takes out stains that you think are permanently in fabric.
It saves baby ducks too that have been in oil spills.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep. It releases the grease, especially in our clothing stain. It will release the greases and the fibers. And I always yell at my husband, if he makes a spill, I said, stop rubbing. You're rubbing it into the fibers. Just let it sit there. I'll get it out.
Where's my Dawn? My
You
husband-
also have to be careful if you do any hand embroidery on your quilts, which I do. Red embroidery floss also will run.
So if you use the color catches, it'll catch it and it won't go on your quilt.
Right.
I wonder if
won't-
Dora's gonna need color catchers when she washes the bathrobe.
Mm.
She best get some.
Yeah, color catches, and they're made by Shout.
Yeah.
They're made by Shout, so they
You only
do
use them once though? They're just a one time?
a one time, and like I said, 3 or 4
Yeah.
go in, and I just throw them away and start with fresh new ones the next time. They look like a fabric softener sheet. That's what they
Yeah.
look like.
Okay.
And if you, like, when you do it the second time, they should be much lighter.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you know you're done when they come out and there's very little color on them.
Right, right.
I use them.
And then you
for
make a
jeans,
color
'cause-
catcher quilt.
Do you? So you've already had them then? Did you already know you were gonna have to put them in with the bathrobe?
Oh, I've used color catchers for years because all
Yeah.
kinds of things that you make out of cotton will do that. And
They
for
sell
like
a
blue
product.
jeans, and Carvana actually has a cheaper version than the
Oh.
Chevron one, but they both
But then
work.
they sell a product called Retain too, that you can put in the wash that supposedly prevents the bleed, but I've never used it, so I can't tout that.
Don't trust
You're
me.
shaking your head, Dara. No?
I
Have you
don't.
ever used
I
it?
just
It's
use.
probably, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just do the same thing you do, Gay. When I'm giving the quilt, I wash it first, and I
Another
only
thing,
once unless it's got red and white. If it's got red, then
right.
you have to wash it multiple times.
The other reason you wash a quilt now, I didn't realize, sometimes you don't catch a seam totally,
Oh,
and it
no.
might pop in the wash, and
Yeah.
then you have to kind of hand sew a piece. That's happened. It's happened to me.
That's
Oh.
the other thing, Andrea. What stitch length are you using on your piecing?
Okay, so right now it's at 2.5.
Make it smaller.
A little
Really?
bit,
How
a little
small?
bit. 2.
Oh, I
maybe
didn't know
2.
that.
Too.
Mm.
A
Twos?
2.
Do you think
You
these
know
ones
why?
that I've
Because
already done are?
because at the very edge of your piece, at the very edges,
Uh-huh.
you don't want it to be pulling apart. It's because you're going to sew 1/4 inch, but if your stitches are closer together, it's less likely to pull apart on those edges. So if it's a little tighter stitch, it won't try to open up as easily.
Okay.
Right, but she's not gonna take those out and restitch.
Oh God,
No. Just
No.
let those be. Just let those be.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I am using a 100% cotton thread. Is that gonna be okay?
I prefer polyester.
Yeah.
I do.
Polyester.
Unless you're making, I use cotton when I'm making for a baby. Polyester won't break. If they get their little finger caught in it or something,
Mhm.
yeah, cotton is better.
Yeah,
But-
it's 100% cotton I have.
I prefer the polyester. My machine likes it better.
Yeah, that's true.
My
Cotton makes a
machine-
lot of dust.
It makes a ton of dust. Even when I do my long arming, I have gone to all polyester glide, and I love the glide. There's very little dust. I mean, I do get dust still in there, but it's not as much. So I
Well, now I
mostly,
know how to get rid of the dust with the batting, so. This has been so much fun. Thank you all. I'm really excited.
Well, and when
So-
you get crazy into quilting, you can buy your thread. This is 12,000 yards.
Wow. If only I
makes
could get a
that?
bobbin that big, then I'd be
I
happy.
know, wouldn't it be wonderful? When I got my
Yeah.
new machine, I was excited. I said, maybe it'll be a bigger bobbin. It's smaller than my old machine. Wah.
Wow,
No, I have a
right.
big bobbin.
Who
Yeah.
How do you
does?
get that, Dara?
Who has a
I
big
got-
bobbin?
I
I got
do.
that at Sewing Expo. One of the vendors was
Yeah,
a thread guy. I think he was from Marathon. I'm not sure I have the name right.
Superior.
I don't remember. All I
Yeah.
remember is I had one that I bought like 10 years before that was gone. So it was time to buy a new one.
I buy my bobbin thread like that in the great big cones.
Whoa,
See
look
my
at the size
bobbins?
of this bobbin.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, yeah,
what kind of machine takes that
For-
kind of bobbin?
Bernina.
it's a Bernina.
Only Berninas have big bobbins?
No, they have some small bobbins too.
But this is the big bobbin machine. It's wonderful because I can piece all day and
Which
literally,
machine is it, Gabe?
Wow. Yeah, Gay, which one?
it's the 435. It's before the really, really high-end ones. I mean, I still spend a lot of money, but it has its computer, it does special stitching, it does embroidery,
Mhm.
but it's not the 900 series. I'm kind of in the
That
middle.
isn't the bobbin that people are complaining about. That
No, this is a great
Okay.
bobbin.
And you
It
can
says the
piece
Bernina
all
bobbin
day?
looks like it.
All day?
Wow.
My machine,
Gosh.
I know when it's running out because my machine starts to get a tapping sound
Yeah.
because it needs oil again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
When I just wind like 8 or 10 bobbins at
Yeah.
a time.
and then
put
you
it
just
in
pop
a
it
dish
in?
next
Mhm.
to the sewing machine and swap them out. Especially when you're doing the kind of piecing like Andrea's doing where it doesn't really matter. You just
I
pop the
know,
next
but my
one.
machine needs to be oiled, so I have to take it all apart anyway. So I may as
Yeah.
well
Every
just
time?
wind the bobbin at the same time.
The
Yeah.
You know-
Bernina, you oil that much?
Clean and oil every bobbin
Yeah.
change.
Every
Every
bobbin.
bobbin
Okay.
change?
And Suzette, I know
God.
we've talked about
I
this, but I forgot. Do you oil your Juki every time you change the bobbin too? Just like,
About every 2 projects.
I
depending on
change
how they-
mine when it tells me to oil, to oil.
it
Or
tells
no,
you
I-
to oil, you
It
have
will
a
tell me
smart,
it's time to oil. It'll have a little picture, or it'll tell
Mhm.
me that my bobbin is getting ready to run out.
oh, what
no.
kind do you have,
I
Cheryl?
hate sewing, and then you get down to the bottom of the seam and half of it isn't done because it was
What kind of machine do you have?
mine's a 560, a Bernina 560.
Oh, yeah, you're just above me. I didn't go quite that high. I wish I had the automatic thread cutter.
It's
I
not the
really-
new 500s. It's the older ones, the 560.
You have the thread cutter?
580.
Do you have the thread cutter?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't have the thread cutter. That's the only
Mhm.
thing I don't have that I would like.
Boy, it's
I
nice.
might
I
have to
didn't know.
trade it in.
Yeah.
I couldn't live without it. My better Janome, that's the quilting machine.
Oh,
I have an automatic thread cutter and like doing
Yeah.
this silly bathrobe with all these little pieces, it
Mhm.
would be
Mhm.
nuts to try and clip
oh
all them.
yeah. Yeah. And Genome's a nice machine. I have the little one, the Platinum Plus.
Mhm.
The Platinum,
I have the old
What, 11?
Husqvarna.
11 pounds.
I have the
Wow.
old Husqvarna. That is a wonderful machine too. It is a beautiful machine for sewing. I mean, the stitches are beautiful in it. And it was on the fritz at the time and my necky was out at the same time. So I have 2 machines out for service and the Husqvarna is so old that we had to wait for parts to come from Sweden. So
Mhm.
I needed a machine, so I ended up buying the Bernina.
Oh, that sounds like something I do, Gay. Yeah, I just had to get this.
When I go into the sewing machine store and I see women mostly, every once in a while I see a man in there, but a woman buying a sewing machine, I always wonder, did you start out today with a plan to buy a sewing machine? Or did you just happen to get talked into this machine that has car payments? They're like
That's funny.
so
When I went to buy my long arm, I had gone to like 3 or 4 different places and I was looking at these machines and saying, this is not what I want, not what I want. So I took my son with me because he has, he's very much mechanically engineered type of
Oh,
person.
good.
So we went to Bits and Pieces. That's up in
Mhm.
Pelham. And we walked in the store. He took one look because they have one side of the shop. She has all these long arms set up, different long arms. And he said to me, "That's what you want. That's what you want." He just took one look at the handy quilter. He said, "That's the
Oh,
machine you
yeah.
want."
Handy quilter, is that what you got?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what my friend Paul bought also.
Yeah.
From her. Yeah.
They are beautiful machines. I mean, I have the CAD unit, so I'm not really computer savvy. It's taken me 2 years. I've had it, and I'm at least now really comfortable with it. I can do a lot of things with it now. But
Good.
it isn't just punching the buttons and it'll do it. You really have to learn. It's a real learning process, but I love it. It's fun. So.
and you're certainly using it. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you all so much. This has been so much fun. So everybody's up for the challenge in 1 month. Friday, May 7th, 2:00 Eastern.
Oh,
I have that one set up for. Hopefully we'll have some quilt tops to hold up. And then we have to talk about the harder parts, the binding and the.
Oh, binding's easy. It's easy.
You
Yeah.
say that.
It is.
several ways
It
to
is.
do binding.
Well, we may need to plan a little lesson for that because
Okay.
What was it, 2:00?
2 Eastern, May 7th, Friday, May 7th. That's when we'll have the quilting meeting for next month.
Okay, all right.
And then Cheryl, I don't know if you were on the call when I mentioned this, but hopefully this summer we're going to add a monthly embroidery chat too.
Ah,
That'll be fun too.
good. Did you still want me to do that embroidery demo with the lace?
Oh, I think that'd be really fun. Yeah, you just let me
Okay.
know when you're up for it, Cheryl, okay?
All righty.
Like a Friday is a great time. A Monday morning, if you're up that early, is also good, or a Friday afternoon.
Okay,
So you let me know when you're feeling good and
All right.
ready.
all righty.
Okay, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I'll see
Thank
you
you.
tomorrow.
Well,
Happy quilting.
Yes,
yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.